Hey guys. Okay, well here's another little video about the Mexican Army cipher disk. Now this was a state-of-the-art cipher disk around the turn of the 20th century. In actual use they weren't too bright about it because they often put the 4-number code right at the beginning of their encrypted messages. So it wasn't too hard to break them. And if you use this in its standard mode, which would mean picking any 4 numbers from these 4 disks and aligning them under a certain letter and keeping them there for greater than, say, 75 letters or 100 letters, there is enough information there that you can probably do something called frequency analysis on it and break this code. Another hint when you're trying to break this code is that if you know that it's a Mexican Army cipher disk, you know also that these numbers are sequential to the letters. And so if you get a few, and of course you go after most frequently used letters like E's and such, then you can pretty much get the other numbers from there. So does that mean this is not really secure and that there's no way to make secure messages with this? No, I disagree. And I'm going to show you how to use this securely. Okay? Now the first thing we have to do is come up with a good solid sequence of 4 numbers. And with the cipher disk we have 1 through 26 on the first rotor or first platter. We have 27 through 52 on the second. We have 53 through 78 on the third, and 79 through 100, which we'll write as 00 because we only use 2-digit numbers, on the fourth. So what we need is a random number within this range. So how are we going to get that? Well, we could easily just pick one out of our head, right? Wrong. The problem with picking numbers out of your head is humans have a very hard time being random, truly random. Computers, even worse, because they tend to use algorithms to create pseudo-randoms. Pseudo-randoms are not randoms, they are actually streams of numbers put together, and if you have the seed number, you can find the stream, and the stream is reproducible. So that doesn't give you real randoms either. So how are we going to get real random numbers? Well, it's actually very simple. We use an ancient device called the dice. And so let me show you how that works. Okay, so I have this lovely little dice tray, which I just purchased off eBay. Thank you, Karen. It's truly perfect. It's a nice lady on eBay makes these and sells them. This has a beautiful blue felt interior. And then I have some game dice here. These are called D10, and they're numbered 1 through 9 and then a 0. So it's essentially like 1 through 10. And you can also use the 1 through 9 with a 0. If you use 2 of these, you can pretty much generate any number between 0, 1 and 100, which of course is done on these as 0, 0. So they're perfect for our application here. So we're going to try to roll 4 numbers that we can use. So we shake it out, we roll it in, and we get a 6 and a 7. Now, I'm going to let the yellow always be the 10s and the blue the 1s. So this is a 67. So where can we use the 67? Let's look. Bring up my whiteboard again here. You can see the 67 falls in the 3rd row here, so we'll just put a 67 out here. Okay. Now we'll go again with our dice, which I'll just put on top here. This time we get a 24, so we will write a 24 under the first set. And now we go ahead again. We have a 23. We can't use that because we already have a 24. we have a 43. Can we use a 43? Nope, because it's in the second set here, so we'll write down 43. And now we're just looking for a number between 79 and 100, right? So we'll go ahead and roll again. And we get 11. And we get a 86. 86. So we write down 86. So there we have it. We have our first random number sequence, 24, 43, 67, 86. And you notice, it's a little off camera there, isn't it? Let me slide this over here. You notice in my way I wrote this down, I have it in 2 sets. And you're going to see why in a minute. Okay, so now we're looking at my key for using the Encoding Army cipher disk in a secure fashion. So what I have done here is I've rolled 10 sets of numbers. You can see the first set, 0, 8, 36, and then 74, 88. My second set, 15, 27, 70, and 96. But you notice I've grouped them in sets of 2. And you're going to see why in a minute. Also over here I have a list. I call it my F list because it's all about the fall. We have numbers 1 through 10. We have evergreen, autumn, pumpkin, harvest, golden, Mayflower, October, falling, leaves, and shadows. And these are numbered 1 to 10. So what are we going to do with this? Well, we're going to use these to create a key. And again, we're going back to our dice. Only this time, we're going to use 3 dice. So what we're going to do is add a red D10 to the mix here. Shake them up, roll them out. And what did we come up with? Well, we have a 2, we have a 6, and we have a 7. So I'm going to write this out on my board here as F2, A6, and B7. Okay? Now that is going to be our code for decryption. And we're going to send this right along with our ciphered message. So we would start it right off with F2, A6, B7. Now, the person who's going to be receiving our code or deciphering our code has to have a copy of this. If you don't have a copy of this, well, you can't do much with it. You need this. Because F2 means autumn as the key word. I'm going to show you how to use that a little bit. And then A6 would be 0, 1, 30. Those are the first 2 rotors we're going to set up, or disks. And then B7 is going to be the last 2. That's going to be 58, 99. So 0, 1, 30, 58, 99 is going to be how we're going to set up the cipher disk. So let's write that down before we forget. 0, 1, 30, 58, 99. So these are our numbers we're going to set up the disk to. Okay? Okay, now we have our cipher disk, and the first thing we're going to do before we get started here is we're going to add a little nifty invention of mine, which is a friction reducer. This is made out of the top of a butter lid, and it just helps reduce the friction on the bottom platter here. So we're going to drop this into place, and that's going to allow all the other disks to freely spin on this disk, because we're going to be moving this bottom disk, or the next to the bottom actually, number 2 of 5 essentially, or number 1 with the numbers on it, back and forth here, what's called a Visionaire or key code cipher method. So what we're going to do is set up 0, 1, 30, 58, and 99. Let's set it up under the A for demonstration purposes. So we just do 0, 1, 30, 58, and 99. Now this whole stack of numbers here is going to be our pointer. So I'm going to put a little black button on the 0, 1. It's going to help us to remember the pointer as it goes around. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is write out our keyword. Do you remember what our keyword was? Well, if you look up at the top there, it says F2. Go back here. F2 is autumn. See? Okay. So we're going to write down autumn. A-U-T-U-M-N. Autumn. Okay? And we'll start to write it again right after A-U-T-U. That's probably all we need for what we're going to do here. Now we'll put a line here. And then we want, it's nice to use graph paper, but for this demonstration, of course, I'm using the whiteboard here. We don't have graph paper, so I'll just do that. And now we're going to start to write our message that we're going to encode. So it's going to be something like, "Hi there. Hi there, pal." So that's our message. Okay? Now we wish to encode it. So this is what's called a plain text message. And below it here is going to be the encoded message, or the cryptogram. And of course it's going to be all numbers because we're using the Mexican Army Cipher disk. So the first thing we do is we set up our pointer, which you remember is this, on the first letter of the keyword. Remember, this is a keyword. Okay, autumn. So we set it up on the first letter. So we'll bring this back in. And, oh, it's already set up on the A. So we're good. We just have to find the H. And now you see we have 4 numbers we can pick from. We have the 8, the 37, the 65, or the 80. Which one should we choose? Should we randomly choose? No, we shouldn't, because again, there's a problem with random numbers in humans. So again, we're going to use trusty dice. This time we're using a 12-sided dice, which has 4 numbers done 3 times on it. It looks like this. Huh? Pretty nifty. So we will roll this, and we get a 3. Okay? So then we look on our cipher disk. Under the H, we go up 3 levels. 1, 2, 3. And that is a 65. So we write down a 65. Our next letter to encode is the I. But before we go to the I, we have to put our index now to U. So we line up our index to U. And remember, that lines up our sequence here of 0, 1, 30, 58, and 99, which is at the top. Now it's under the U, okay? Now we find that we're looking for an I. So we go around and we're at the I. Now we have to choose one of these. And we're back to our 4-number dice again. So we're going to roll. And we get another 3. So we look up 3 under the I. Set on U. 1, 2, 3. So we have a 72. A 72 under the I. So we write that down. Now we're looking for a T. We look for a T for our setup. Just move it straight over. Now we're set up under the T. And we're looking for a T. How about that? So we do a roll. We get a 2. Now we look under the T. We know that under the button it's 01. We come up when it's a 30. So we write down 30. And we'll do one more. I think you're getting the hang of it, of what I'm doing here. And I'll line up under the U. Then I'm looking for an H. I then do a roll. Just do it off camera here. It's a 4. You'll have to trust me. And we go up 4 on the H. That is an 86. So we write down 86. Okay? So I'll continue to the end of here and then I'll come back. Okay, so you can see I've completed the process. So now I end up with my cipher here, which I'm going to write in groups of 4 numbers. 6572 3086 7605 3494 and 3718. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would probably do 6 of these across and then drop down to another row. So 6 sets of 4. When I go to the next row, I am going to generate a new key. A completely new key. So I'm going to use my dice, my 3 dice, to give me a new fall keyword, and then part of the 4-number set I'm going to pick up from my yellow dice under the A column, and the last 2 numbers I'm going to pick up under my B column with the blue dice, the D10 dice. And by those 2 columns there is 100 different combinations of those possible 4-digit number combinations. And of course we have 10 combinations here with the key code. And these are going to change with each line or each entry of our message. Or if it's a list, with each password or whatever you're encoding that you want to keep safe. And this is what you're going to write down or keep safe or send to your friend. Now I believe what we have here is a pretty darn good encryption. Since we're using both 4 platters, randomly generated numbers, true randomly generated numbers, and we're changing the setup for the key number set as well as a keyword with each line, I do not believe this could be easily broken without many, many hours of work, and also many, many lines of messages here. And it's not too hard to make another one of these keys. So you can have several of these and maybe switch them out or give them different names. And through that method, you can have a very secure system. The most dangerous part about this system is you have to keep this in a safe place, or a copy of this. Of course, it's not going to be a big whiteboard like we have here. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial on how to use your Mexican Army Cipher disk to make really secure messages. And one last thing I did want to make sure you remember is that at the beginning of each line, you are going to include the key up here. F2, A6, B7. So you're going to put this, tilt the camera a little bit so you can see the whole thing, before you put your numeric sequence of encrypted letters to numbers. Because your receiver, or you in the future, will have to refer to this to figure out what to do with these. Is this good to anyone? No. Absolutely no good to anyone unless they have this. So this becomes all important. Okay? Like a code book. So this is what to do with the code book. It tells your receiver how to use this code book, and this is the encryption. Okay? Alright, good luck and have fun.